Hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
Same shit.
Word. I uh I couldn't be in less of a mood to do this. And by the way, we're rolling. I'm just gonna go from here. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm exhausted. I've been playing drums all day, unsuccessfully. I almost got it. I'm trying to record a song, and yeah, just I told
Well,
myself.
let's just talk about, first let's talk about how taxing art is and showing up for the original creation. Because I'm trying to do something as well today, and it was just killing me.
Yeah, I mean it's fun most of the time. I was kind of thinking about with what we're doing right now, how I don't feel like doing this like currently, but
Yep.
by the end of it, and hopefully once it's like put out, it'll have been worth it. But I am a grumpy Gus, to say the least. So I'm just exhausted, man. Like with this new job, I work like 55 hours a week on average, and it doesn't leave me a whole lot of time to do anything. So this weekend has been like, I've had this song I've been wanting to work on for like 2 weeks, and I've been doing it in little tidbits and everything. And this weekend I was like, I have to get this like laid down, like so I can start messing with it. And between that and like just the responsibility of being a homeowner and having to like do my chores around here, here I am, just a real piece of shit
You
with a
have
podcast.
a HOA?
No, no, no. I'm my own HOA. The two houses next to me are both abandoned. So one of them, there was a third one down the road that I was just like walking by one day and I was like, "What's that sound?" And then there was a bulldozer just knocking this house down. Like I sat and watched for a little while. And honestly, I don't know. Like if someone's not gonna build there, I think the city might have done it. And it's like, I mean, it looked cooler with a house there. Like if the city
Even
had
if it was abandoned?
yeah, it was abandoned, but like, if the city had anything to do with that, it's like, why didn't you just leave it there? You know, let the neighborhood kids have a little haunted house, something like that. Halloween's coming up. Why tear it
It
down?
pulls down the property values. You of all people should be sensitive to that.
I mean, I wouldn't know because I've been trimming bushes all weekend to keep my property value up. But that's why I'm tired and can't play music. What have you been working on all day?
I've been rewriting and editing a script that I have been working on for years, and it's pretty frustrating not to see something succeed that you have so much faith in.
Well, how do you know that it hasn't succeeded yet?
Well, it's been, I'm not getting responses from industry professionals, so to speak. So I don't know if it's whether I can't get their attention or if the script sucks.
Could be both.
Mm-hmm.
That's the funny thing. Like with music, for example, I've often wondered the same thing. Whether because I'm definitely a side gig musician, and it's never paid my bills. But like, I often wonder if I'm good enough. I have friends that are fairly successful, and I would say that I'm probably in the same neighborhood as talent goes. But their work ethic and their knowledge of like how to make moves and their overall attitude is way better than mine. Like I can be a prick. So that doesn't, I burn a lot of bridges and that doesn't help. But then there's also like this, uh, you know, underdog feeling of that I maybe lie to myself about, where I'm like, well, I'm gonna do this on my own and blah blah blah, and it's like, is that really the
I have
best
a
way?
friend like that. He's believed to be very talented by many people, but nobody really knows because he's so private with his work. And one of our friends put him on the spot, and he kind of asked the guy, well, so you're making an album, like, is anybody ever going to hear it? Like, what do you do with this stuff? Do you just, like, hide it in your house?
Well, what was his answer?
He kind of stuttered and didn't really know what to say and didn't want to be put on the spot. And I think he probably resented it.
Well, the funny thing is,
somebody
like,
had to say it, you know?
the funny thing is, though, that with something like that, it almost seems to me like the guy that hasn't put his work out yet, it could go one way or the other. You know, that person could be incredibly secure with who they are, and they don't need that, like, validation from other people, and they're just doing it for themselves. Or it could be that they're so insecure that they're afraid that, you know, someone's going to, like, destroy their masterpiece, so to speak, whenever they don't like it.
I think it's a little bit of both in that guy's case.
Yeah, I mean,
he's very perfectionist with his work, but at the same time, he hides it away to an extent that is not helping him.
I mean, I've done both. You know, I think I've gotten more, I don't know if it's comfortable or lazy in the last few years, where I'll do something, like the last song I put out as a single, you know, I recorded it and was kind of recording it just to demo it. And then when I got it done, I was like, this is as good as it's going to get. You know, I could have sat around and done it forever and really nitpicked it. But, like, at the end of the day, there's a certain beauty to, like, creating something and then letting it just be what it is instead of toiling over it in every way, you know. And that's one good thing about music. I can't imagine writing a script, because a script is something that you have to toil over. Whereas music, I can kind of get the basic thing figured out and then be like, okay, I could toil over it, but it's easier to get away with not toiling over it and then just being like, oh man, it's so raw. You know?
Yeah. With the script, you can't do that so much.
Yeah. You know what I just realized? You should probably, just in case, I mean, more than likely, there's probably going to be 6 people listening to this thing, and they all know who we are. But why don't you tell people, like, who you are and what you do and all that stuff? We probably should have done that at the beginning, but whatever. We're flying by the seat of our pants.
Tolka. I'm Tim Tolka. I'm a writer, screenwriter, and editor. I live in Mexico City. Chris and I are from the same town, and this is the first conversation where we've recorded it. But
yeah,
the conversation we have like every week.
Do you know what would be really funny is that if no one heard you, like everybody already clicked, like just quit listening before it got to the point where you said like who you were and stuff. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? If the 6 people listening were already like, Jesus Christ, I'm not doing this, you know. It's so weird to have our conversation where we both know it's getting recorded, and it's like there's a third person in the room. It's really weird. It's almost like, it almost feels the same as social media in a weird way, because like when you're on social media, if you say anything that's kind of controversial or maybe outside of the beliefs that are within your little bubble that you kind of float around in, you know, you can really stir up a shitstorm. And that's kind of what this feels like, where it's like the people that are listening, there's like, it's not necessarily the people that are listening, but like it feels like there's this set of ears in the room that kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety. I don't know, or it could be my lack of sleep and overwork that's doing that, but it's strange.
Could be. I don't know. I feel like it's the Raven.
What do you mean? Is it the Edgar Allan Poe book?
Yes.
I don't remember anything about that.
Mortality.
Explain that to me, because I don't remember. I mean, I remember the book and, you know, yada yada, but...
The Raven is a presence that doesn't give you any answers. It just kind of puts your own mortality back in your face and amplifies your angst.
So the Raven is my father.
Yeah,
Okay, now I get
in a
it.
manner of speaking.
Yeah,
A
now
devil on your shoulder.
the Raven is the patriarch, man. I could go down that rabbit hole. Uh, but yeah, so I don't know, man. It is. I've been feeling the Raven all day, all weekend, really. Just like with having a ton of shit to do for just my life, and then I knew that we were gonna try to do this tonight, and I was maybe a little bit apprehensive about that because it's like a new endeavor. But the main thing is just this fucking song. Like I've had this. Like I normally when I write songs, dude, I push them out. Like I'll get these things done quick. And this one, it's been a different. Like since I'm so busy with work and working so many hours, it's caused me to do it in little bitty chunks, and it's kind of been helpful because I've had a chance to like analyze how I want to play the drums, how I want to play the bass. The first thing I wrote was like this country-esque version of a song on a guitar, and then I ended up like keeping the melody, but changing the rhythm a little bit. It's just been a nice experience. Even though it's frustrating, it's been nice to have extra time because it's allowed me more time to think.
Indeed.
How does that work with you as far as being a writer goes? Like, do you always have to go back and just edit? Like, are there flashes in the pan, so to speak, and then you go back and edit, or does it come out like stream of consciousness sometime for you? Like, tell me about that.
It depends. A lot of the work is done in editing and rewriting from like false starts. So sometimes I just do what is called a vomit draft, and then go back and see what its faults are.
Go back and see.
Especially
what
in a case where
are.
I don't really know where I'm going.
If
I write something and I don't really know where I'm going, then I can go back to it and look at it and see what's wrong with it and try to generate the better version.
Why don't you read us a couple lines out of this shitty script that you're working on that nobody in Hollywood wants to pick up because it's a trash can? Why don't you read us a little bit of that? Why don't you read us a little bit of this piece?
I don't think that's the way.
Let me hear a little bit of the turd you got sitting on your desk, bud.
Okay.
Let's see. We'll let the people decide. Well, like maybe who knows?
Right, hold on.
Who knows? Maybe Harvey Weinstein is listening to this right now, and if you touch his penis, the script will be good. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It's Hollywood, baby.
I've been comfortable with these prices of getting my big break.
You're down? Like you're that desperate at this point? Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Oh, is that siren on my, is that siren?
Hey,
is that siren on my end or
actually,
your end?
this is perfect.
Okay, there we go. It's set in the background. Go.
At the end of the police academy, the NYPD sends the rookies out into the wild for a month before bringing them back before graduation. So in the late 90s, I was sent to the 46th precinct, a perpetual shit show. In my day, that meant walking a beat in the Bronx with a hick as clueless and green as myself, guided by grizzled Irish sergeants who grew up breaking heads with a billy club on the mean streets of the outer boroughs.
Dude,
I grew up weaving through the throngs of tourists in Chinatown's fetid, steamy summer heat.
Dude, I think that's on Hollywood. Like that's pretty good. I mean, honestly, you've read me a little bit of your stuff, but that's good. So I think
that's from an unpublished memoir that I can't share with anybody. I can share it with potential clients, but I don't think I can really.
Right. So you're like kind of ghostwriting for somebody and sort of editing their thoughts, so to speak.
Yep.
Cool, man. Well, that was really.
That one is so much fun. I love that story. That guy is really cool.
Yeah, that sounded.
But
good.
his work poses some complexities that are hard to deal with as an author. A bunch of extra bullshit that you have to worry about.
What's like, not about this guy, but I can't imagine being in your shoes where you have to take, I mean, you're basically taking somebody's baby, and then it's almost like with your job as an editor where you hear these stories that you're supposed to tell and you have to kind of like make them fancy.
Yeah.
What's the name of the guy that like fits you for a suit? What's that job? If you get fitted for a suit, a tailor, right? So it's like you're a tailor for people's babies. You have to like go in and you have to like put this fancy suit on this little precious
Sometimes
thing.
like being a mortician, perhaps, dressing up their dead corpse.
Yeah, that's the other end of the spectrum. Yeah, now we're getting in there.
But a lot of times, and it's a really sensitive job. So I had this experience the other day that was really good. I wrote a scene for somebody who lived it.
Hey, hold on. Morgan is calling me, and I'm going to let him three-way in, and then I'm just going to hang up on him, okay? Hold on one second.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
It's just me. I'm in my truck now.
Not just you. I don't think, anyway.
Oh.
Tolka, are you there?
Hey, do you remember Giraffe? Giraffe Neck?
Yeah, how can I forget it?
You're on the podcast, John.
Oh, you're on a podcast right now?
Yeah, I'm recording the first podcast, and I told you last night that you would be the third guest, and you'd probably get pushed back because I'll find someone more interesting than you within the next couple weeks. And you're such a narcissist that you called and interrupted the first episode. So, of course, it's going to be all about John. Thanks for running the show.
Is it really interrupting it if nobody's listening?
That's a good point. Actually, technically, when John called, we just got our first listener.
Oh, really?
That's true.
Yeah, you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like,
I haven't heard
honestly.
I haven't heard any of the rousing conversation. All right, Chris, shut up. Hey, Timmy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
All right, John.
I was thinking about you today for some reason.
Hey,
I
John.
was thinking about being called Giraffe, and John knew that it bothered me, and that's why he called me Giraffe.
Hey.
I was born with a lazy eye, Tim.
Oh, hey, John. I got Andrew Fauci calling in on the hotline. I got to let you go. Okay, it's back to just us. What a piece of shit.
Why?
Because he's just always got to butt his head into everything, and like, he just doesn't listen when you talk, Like, I love him. Oh, and now he's calling again. See? Like, I mean, like, what is this? I'm not answering that. The cool thing is that what's funny about it is that John will undoubtedly listen to this just to see what we're saying about him right now. So we're going to get one listener. It's going to be great. So where were you?
Well, I'll tell one more story about John.
Okay.
We were riding along on our bikes on Boone Street, and I was leaning back drinking some Gatorade riding with no hands, and John messed with my handlebars so that I fell down.
I mean, that's John. He just messed with our handlebars. We were riding on this two-seater bike, having a great conversation, and it was finally starting to get going, and then John came and messed with the handlebars, and we skated right into the ditch, man. Now I don't even know what we're doing.
Yeah, we did go. I didn't even know where we were going, but we were going somewhere.
We were going somewhere, and now now what are we doing?
Oh yeah, I was saying.
Now we're picking the gravel out of our knee.
That this person.
Oh, sorry. Go back.
And
Hey, couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you. Go back to the beginning.
I wrote a scene that my client lived. She experienced it, and it's a very powerful scene. Probably like the most traumatic experience she's ever had in her life. And I wrote the scene in such a way that she immediately sent me a message saying that she had chills and that she wanted to cry and that she felt like she was there.
I'm just
That's a
listening.
loud siren.
Yeah, I was just listening to the sirens. It's funny because we're doing this in such a ghetto way that like you can hear cars go by my house and like you've got sirens, but whatever. We're getting it there. Go ahead.
In Mexico City, the police always roll by with the sirens at full blast for no apparent reason, like in the middle of the night.
I mean, I doubt it's for no apparent reason. I'm sure they're probably going to do something. I don't think they're just going to get like a donut. They're throwing up the cherries and blueberries.
I don't think they're actually doing anything when they do that.
Dude, come on. You think they're just joyriding? It's just like
A little bit. It seems like it.
they're like check
But
this.
because it'll be like a real short one, you know. The American police do this too.
Well,
They'll
yeah,
just
but
go, like, police.
Yeah, but they generally, I mean, I think the reason that they do the short ones is because, like, when they get close to where
They're
they're
giving somebody
going,
a warning.
they turn it off. Like, if they're going
I'd love to know, but I'm definitely not going to ask.
I don't think you have to ask. I mean, I don't think that, if I had to bet, I would say 99% of the time when cops' lights are on, they're probably going somewhere that's work related. You know, I don't see them playing with the cherries and blueberries that often. Maybe some rookie cops, you know, like that, you know, that country punk in your novel. But
The ones in my neighborhood are often like special investigations cops because there's politicians nearby. But the first experience I had here with a cop was actually just watching a cop carry out like some routine shit. But it was really interesting because it was way different than what an American cop would likely have done in the same situation.
because it was in Spanish?
This old lady hit an officer with her cane while she was having what appeared to be a mental health issue.
And she was shot on the spot, right?
That's what I expected. I was like, oh shit, we're gonna, like, there's gonna be bloodshed. And he just took her cane away.
I mean, that's, I don't know, what else do you do in that situation? How fucked up would it be?
Right?
How
But
fucked,
it was,
how
I was
fucked up,
so prepped for violence, I was like, oh, here we go.
how
And
fucked
then
up
he
would,
just, like, completely mild-mannered response I was really happy about.
how fucked up would it have been if he would have tased her? Like, just to see an old lady get tased.
Right?
is-
Like,
is-
that stuff, we see videos of that happening in the U.S. when, like, old women or like, people with disabilities are
Hold
being
on there.
abused or, like, having their arms broken.
Hold on there, Bernie Sanders. There's videos of ladies getting fucking tased, old ladies getting tased. I don't think that's true. Like,
I can show you some videos. There was police in
okay,
Longmont, Colorado.
I knew this was going to go
where
Antifa
their
eventually.
body cam footage shows them mistreating a disabled woman. And they had lost their jobs over it.
An old lady, though?
So that's positive.
Look, let's be honest.
It also happens.
As a member of the disabled community, I can go ahead and say no one has a problem picking on a cripple. But like an old lady, I'm sorry, there's no videos of cops tasing old ladies. If you can find one, link it. This is gonna go on YouTube.
That's a good test.
If you
Kinda
can,
like Florida.
if you can find,
You're like, what does Florida
I'm gonna
do?
put this video on YouTube. It's just gonna be like, you know, the audio of our conversation. If you can find a video of an old lady getting tased in America,
Boom.
put it in the comments.
Top tasers, old woman for fleeing from an 80s.
Okay, look at this shit. Morgan is calling again. I mean, dude, he's literally like herpes. It just doesn't go away. Just
Oh,
constant,
come on.
you know? Like,
You're lucky to have a herpes like John Morgan.
I do love John.
He's
And he is going to be, I think he's going to be the third guest
Oh, sure.
here on the podcast. I'm getting my buddy Rye from Nashville, the guy that started playing. John is now repeatedly calling just because he knows it's making me mad, to the point where I'm going to have to block him. We've been down this road. This is my best friend in the world. And I blocked him and he blocked me for 6 weeks earlier this year. And it was nothing more than a contest to see who would break first.
Adult children.
Yeah. Man babies. Couple man babies. Now I forgot what I was talking about. John's just, he's the worst. He's the worst. Where were we at? I don't even know. Oh, I was talking about who I was going to have on the podcast. So I want to have John as like the third guest, ideally. But I'm going to have my buddy Rye from Nashville, who was the first person that I really connected with musically, like ever, you know. When I moved down there, not ever. Darren Engel, Dustin Ryan, people from home were probably like the people that I connected with. But like it was the first person in Nashville that I really connected with, and he's still like a brother to me. So we're just gonna bullshit about music, and he'll probably tell me. He always like every time we have a talk, he'll call me, and then at the end of the conversation, he'll be like, "One more thing, man. Have you heard of Old Dust Mop and the Dirty Sneakers or some shit name of a band?" And I'll be like, "No." And then he'll be like, "Man, it's this a cappella group from 1948 and it's so good." And I'm just like, "Dude, I gotta go. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. I'm not even in that fucking world anymore." Like, we used to listen to blues all the time together. And I think I started to move forward in time, and Rye just kind of stayed there and maybe moved backwards a little bit. But he will literally say, like, "Yeah, have you heard of, you know, Old Dust Mop and the Dirty Sneakers? It's an a cappella band from, you know, Michigan in 1948. And I'm like, "No, Rye. No one's heard of that," you know. And then I don't listen to it. But so it's going to be an exciting episode of Time Life Music 1948. I'm sure when I talk to Rye, it'll probably be like a fucking music class.
The Dust Mop and the
Dust Mop and
the Dirty Rag,
the Dirty Speakers, or whatever. Oh, jeez.
That's a good band name.
I mean, not really.
I was thinking you should have Anders on, because Anders is just like he's a show.
I mean, I would have Anders. I would
like anytime I get on the phone with him, it's like 5 or 10 minutes of just.
I would gladly have Anders on.
jibber-jabby.
I mean, it would be interesting. And the thing is, like, kind of like we did tonight, you know, I called you to get, like, the levels set, which I'm going to have to redo the setup over here, but, or, like, get it better, because this is so thrown together the way that I'm doing this. I hope the audio ends up coming out okay. But, like, I'm down. I mean, I'm going to do every episode where the phone rings, you know? Like, you hear the phone ringing at the beginning, and so it's just a natural conversation. You know, that's, I mean, you're the inspiration for why I did this in the first place. Like, our conversations over the COVID thing, where we would talk for a couple hours, whatever, an hour, and, you know, you and I don't necessarily agree on everything, and we've even gotten into, like, fights, you know, but I feel like, although you and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum on certain things, particularly politically, and even maybe, you know, I don't know, we're different people, but we always manage to kind of see eye to eye and meet in the middle, so to speak, and like, I love that about you. And that's really why I wanted to, I guess I basically realized that I have a lot of really interesting friends. You know? You being...
Body camera video shows 87-year-old woman tased.
You're a piece of shit.
Body camera video shows Oklahoma woman hit with stun gun.
Do you know what my
Top
favorite...
cases 65.
Do you know what my favorite thing about that is? Is that I was going on this, like, heartfelt journey about, you know, you being the inspiration for the podcast. And the whole time that I'm doing that, you're not even listening. You're just over there, full Antifa mode, looking through fucking Google, trying to find some video of a woman getting tased. And I really, like, I laid out my heart there for you.
I'm just kidding. I was listening.
That was funny as shit. Man, I don't know what to do about the fact that the phone, like, you know, back in the day when you used to, like, listen to, like, your phone would mess with the speakers when you get a phone call. If you were listening to music back in, like, 2006, it'd be like that. I'm getting that
Yep.
with this microphone, and I'm trying to figure out where to put the damn phone. We're learning as we go, folks. If you're still listening to this, congratulations. You're as lonely as I am.
We're all lonely, Chris.
I know, brother. I'm not lonely. I got my cat, my cigarettes, my music, my job,
I got my whiskey and my weed.
my dignity.
My girlfriend, who is waiting to watch Grey's Anatomy with me.
Oh, man, I am glad I don't have a girlfriend. That sounds...
Grey's Anatomy, who knew?
Is it really that good? Isn't it a hospital show?
Yeah, it is.
See,
I think the reason I'm watching it is because I know that the lady who created it is a master, and so I want to see what tricks she has up her sleeve.
That's a good move, dude. To kind of, yeah.
It's like when you listen to a song by someone that you really look up to.
Dusty Mop and the Dirty Speakers.
Kind of
Sneakers.
expect it. Yeah, Dusty Mop and the Dirty Sneakers.
Yeah.
I recently started off a screenplay with a character that had really dirty, busted up sneakers. Actually, I was remembering this Argentinian girl's review of me upon our second meeting in another country. She was like, I remember you when you were in Mexico. You had these broke-ass shoes. Your shoes were so fucked.
She was saying this to you, right?
Yeah.
That would have been weird if you were saying that to her. If you're like, I remember when I met you and you had these busted-ass shoes, you Argentinian piece of shit. You know, if you just went full aggressive, toxic masculinity.
I was remembering this night that Joseph and I spent with her and her sister in some little town in Argentina. And at the end of the night, they had to pay for the taxi because we didn't have any money.
I've heard that story, I think, from both of you. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, let's
It was embarrassing.
let's
It was probably a good deal of money.
Let's shift gears into. I think I sent you a text last weekend and said that we should talk about what makes an angry man. You know, just because I thought about that and I was like, oh, that'd be a good conversation for Tolka and I to have. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
What do you think makes an angry man?
Well, there are a couple things.
Oh, you made notes.
One I think is easy answers to complex problems.
You think that creates an angry man?
I think it's a stepping stone.
You know, I agree with you, but I agree with you here's how I agree with you. I think that I think there's a definite connection between ignorance and anger. And when you're an ignorant person, and I've been angry and ignorant, you know, I'm not being exclusionary here. Like,
yeah, I definitely can't throw stones.
Yeah, exactly. But like, there's a connection between ignorance and anger, and personally, my anger has come out when I can't find an answer, you know, for why whatever is happening, and then I kind of the train sort of gets derailed into simplifying it, and then that's when the anger pops, you know. So I agree with you. And does that make sense at all, or am I completely?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, but yeah, that's a strange thing. It's like, I think, you know, and it's not. If you want to elaborate, you can. I wasn't trying to cut you off.
I feel like a lot of our friends have been disappointed in their life's ambitions, and we had expectations of such and such, and those expectations being frustrated caused a lot of people to take solace in anger.
Do you think that that's because we were raised by boomers? And, you know, boomers were kind of like handed the world on a silver platter, and they You know, this is all post World War II shit when we had tons of money and the economy started booming. But for boomers, like there was a step-by-step guide to success, you know, and it pretty much seems to me like it involved go to school, go to college, get a job, get a wife, have some kids, American dream,
Yeah.
picket fence,
Yeah.
and
But our path through the same, you know, rite of passage was filled with booby traps.
agreed. And I think it's only like, I mean, I think that I can't imagine, like, I work with these dudes that are like 21, 23 now, and I think a lot about is it really like the difference because you know being around those guys reminds me of myself when I was 21 or 23 and I'm constantly comparing myself to them and blah 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 and like the irony of it is I'm working a job that's a lot like a job I had when I was 23, you know, and I'm 40 now, and so it's interesting to think about if I was in their shoes, would I have more opportunity or less opportunity because they have the internet, you know, and that's like a thing that is, you know, it can be really really good or it can be really really bad. I don't feel like internet, social media, phone in your pocket, all that stuff. I feel like there's very few people that can pull off letting it be what it is, you know, just a thing that's outside of them and not attaching it to their identity.
We didn't have that when we were their age.
But we
That'd be
did.
strange.
But we did. We just had a smaller bubble, you know? Like, when I was 23, I was exposed to, like, a lot of different people, but...
Yeah. We were starting to download music back then.
Right, right. But I'm talking just, like, day to day. Like, I can't imagine being a 21 or 23-year-old now where you have access to everything. Like it feels like
Yeah.
it feels like it would have been harder for me to compartmentalize the different kinds of people that I knew if I had social media when I was 23 or the internet for that matter.
Yeah. We were definitely not ready for that when we were
Right.
younger.
But the thing is,
We were uncouth.
but we wouldn't have known, you know, like I don't, but would the social media have let us know? I don't know. It's such a strange thing to think about. But those guys are really not.
If there was cancel culture when we were young.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm glad that I didn't have to deal with that, like when we were young, because it allowed us to be young. You know, that's kind of something I think that is pretty sad about all that stuff is that it kind of puts everybody into a funnel, you know?
Yeah,
where
you can't make mistakes anymore.
Yeah, you got to kind of all go down the same water slide, and it's like, man, I kind of want to go down that one over there that's yellow, has a bunch of curves in it, you know? And everybody's like, no, you got to go down this blue one, it's straight, and it sucks, you know? It just doesn't, it's funny that cancel culture is supposed to promote diversity, but I think on a like intrinsic level or a human level, it's actually limiting diversity. It's kind of like it's almost like the hipster that dresses different and thinks that they look like so unique, but they look like every other hipster, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a strange...
Like the New York neighborhoods where all the artists live.
Yeah, like Brooklyn in
It's really
2014.
annoying. Everybody's like on their own little fashion
Like
show.
Brooklyn in 2014 or whatever, you know, it would have been like a bunch of people that looked like Justin Townes Earl, you know, R.I.P. Justin Townes Earl, that guy died last year. But like, you know, I mean, it's weird how I know we were talking about anger and now we're into this, but it's just but the thing is, anger is such a big part of, or outrage maybe is such a big part of day-to-day life for younger people now. But I can remember being outraged about like the way that the United States handled 9/11, and I often think like if there would have been social media back then, I bet I wouldn't have like been friends with a lot of people I was able to maintain my relationships with, because when we invaded Iraq and everything, I was like, what the fuck are we doing? And
Yeah.
I had conversations with people, like actual conversations, with my dad being one of them. And my dad made one of the best points that I've really ever heard for the invasion of Iraq. And he said, the reason we're over there is because if we go to Iraq and invade, that keeps the terrorists over there. And I never, like, that's some gangster way of looking at shit. It's definitely some Republican way of looking at shit, but it's also true. I mean, after 9/11, that shit was terrifying. And if we were in Iraq fucking that country up, then that's where, if our military was there, that's where, like, terrorists would go. Instead of coming over here and blowing shit up, Not to say that I agree with that philosophy, but it was interesting to be able to have that conversation with my dad. Whereas if I had social media at that point in time, I would have been so just drunk on my own opinion because everybody in my little bubble is regurgitating it, that I would have never been able to have that conversation with my father. My father, honestly, I mean, I've been a Democrat my whole life. And the best thing about my dad is that he's a fucking Republican cunt, and I love him. So I have to listen to him, I have to listen to his opinions, and I have to find a way to still love him and compartmentalize his political views and not try to like let it leak into who I think he is, And I think that's something that younger people nowadays probably miss out on. And maybe they don't.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. But I guess if I was that age, I would,
I don't know. I definitely listen to older people a lot more closely than I used to.
But yeah, but we're getting old, I mean, we're middle aged, so there you have the question. It's like, is that a personality trait, or has that been born of, circumstance, which would be our age in this situation? I don't know.
I can return to the original question about anger. I think that anger often comes from a lack of advancement.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Or do you think anger comes from repeated failure? Is that a different way to say lack of advancement? Is repeated failure?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've often thought, I've known people in like the music industry or whatever, that were raised pretty wealthy, you know what I mean? And then as I got to know them, and no one that lives here in this city, because where I live is, there really aren't any, there's one successful musician out of here, and he's anything but spoiled. And like, excuse me, but I've seen musicians that were successful, and they were raised wealthy. Their parents kind of like really helped them out because they had the financial means to do so, and they end up being a success. And I think a lot of the reason that they're successful is because they don't have a chip on their shoulder, and they have really, of course they've had their own like struggles within whatever life they're living, but they've never had to scrape the bottom of the barrel, so their demeanor is a little bit more solid, which only leads to more success. So then it's like, a chicken or the egg thing where you say to yourself, is privilege the reason for their success, or is it them?
I had a vivid example come to me through one of my clients. She was a fashion designer, and she said that she was competing with white women who were well-rested and well-fed, and she was so broke that she didn't have money to eat, and she was like sleeping on a friend's couch some of the time and like scrounging for, shelter basically.
Yeah.
And even having to like jump over the subway turnstiles, which is it's an ongoing stress,
Yeah.
And that was kind of her version of like climbing the ladder in New York fashion world, was competing with people who were rested and fed when she wasn't.
Yeah,
I
but
thought that was a real vivid example of an upstart, and of the like difference of white privilege kind of creates that is imperceptible to people who enjoy it all the time.
yeah, I mean, but then there's the other half of it, and I'm not talking about the white privilege thing. I'm just going back to what you were saying about her, where it's like, do you think that because she had to fight that fight, that it almost gives her an advantage as far
Later.
as
Yeah, because she's really
because she's hungry,
she's
literally
definitely
and
winger.
she's literally and
I think that
figuratively hungry.
she
And
definitely
the
rose to
hold
the
on,
top.
hang on. So she's
Right.
literally and figuratively hungry, whereas in this story the white people are fed and they have lodging, but
This fight.
but they have like a tendency to rest on their laurels, whereas
Yeah.
she will not, which it almost like, and this is a very fucking Republican thing to say, but like it's that whole thing where necessity drives innovation, and I'm not saying that white privilege doesn't exist or anything like that. I'm just saying that, and also there's black people that have white privilege. There's black people that have been like, Will Smith's kid. One of the 21-year-olds was listening to Will Smith rap the other day, or Will Smith's kid rap, and I was just like, this isn't really that good. And then I thought about it and was like, well, if I had fucking Will Smith's money, I could make a decent hip-hop album, like,
Yeah.
so like, or at least to get it.
With all of Will Smith's friends.
Or just having enough money to get a publicist. I mean, there's not one goddamn article you read about a musician that isn't like funded by money that went into a publicist. So there's a publicist that reaches out to Rolling Stone and says, hey, I have this artist, would you like to do this? And then it's like, yeah. And I mean, it's all, if you're Will Smith's kid, you got an endless pot of money. It's not hard to make a hit record.
Yep.
But back to what we were talking about with her being a fashion designer, like, she's hungry, so she's going to keep working, It's such a weird, and it's almost like back to what we were talking about with the beginning of being an angry person, where you try to take a very complex issue and make it simple, then you get angry. Where even white privilege is a complex issue. I'm not saying it's not real, it's totally real. I mean, across the board, if you're looking at things from the outside looking in, or on a macro level, not a micro level, if you look at it on a macro level, yeah, absolutely. I mean, black people got fucked in the United States. Like, it's nasty. And if you look at it, that's one thing I think is so sad, is that it doesn't matter who it is, but the United States, capitalism really is always using somebody. I was having a conversation with a guy last night about this, how, capitalism, in order for it to function, always has to really, 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 like, fuck somebody, basically. but the question is, like, if you look at the current state in our country, it's like, do they have to fuck them that hard? You know? Like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I know somebody's going to be at the bottom of the fucking totem pole, which is a funny reference to make since it's a Native American reference. But, like, you know, somebody's at the bottom rung of the ladder. They're always going to, you know, shit rolls downhill. But it's like, how bad does it have to be at the bottom for the top to function? And the answer is not as bad as it is now. I mean,
not as bad as it is.
They're giving out fucking. They're like, hey man, you want a free lunch? And you're like, what is it? They're like, it's air. Just breathe, you pussy. And I'm gonna keep making money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like.
Yeah.
It's wild. Sorry, we're all over the place, but whatever. I'm enjoying the conversation. Do you care if I take a piss real quick and just come right back?
Why don't you piss while you're? You could have pissed without us even knowing, probably.
No, I couldn't have, because the way I got the thing set up is like I can't move. Like my phone is plugged into a thing, and I wonder if I can pee. Can I pee? No, the headphones I have are here. I'm not going to be able to hear you, but you just talk while I pee. You take over, okay? And I'm going to take a sit down pee like a good little boy, so it doesn't make any noise. You keep talking. All right, I'm going to pee.
You heard it, folks. That is Chris Black signing off for a bathroom break. We've been talking about anger, popular anger. Why? Because it's tearing the country apart. And we have to have some explanation about it, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Or we're in despair about being powerless against this elemental force. Chris and I have probably both spent plenty of time angry, especially during the pandemic. But I guess, yeah, we're at home with it because of that. And we spent a lot of time sharing during our free time over the pandemic, and learned a lot about each other and a lot about ourselves, a lot about our parents. Yeah. I had to.
I'm still peeing, man.
Partially because
I'll be back.
I couldn't handle.
That's what happens when you drink
handle being in
like 2
the
pots
US
of coffee
2020.
and then 2 beers. Just all I've done all day is drink coffee and try to play drums. And then I had 2 beers while we were talking. Woo! Wait! Had to piss.
I had 2 whiskeys.
I'm gonna go ahead and get the flush too. You know, just keeping it real. We keep it real here on the Nitty and Gritty. I forgot that's the name of the podcast. I'll probably have to make an intro.
Yeah. And you never introduced yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna do like an intro thing at the beginning. What the fuck were you talking about while I was taking a sit down pee?
Not a damn thing.
You were talking though.
None of your business. You'll find out later, asshole. I
Surprise.
should have started talking about UFOs. Then at least we'd have some listeners.
Yeah, you want me to just put, here, talk about UFOs for like 7 seconds, and then I'll just put hashtag UFOs on all the posts.
I started seeing UFOs when I moved to Mexico.
Cool. Hashtag UFOs. That's what, let's change topics now, but at least we can put the hashtag. It'll be great. It'll draw listeners. I'm also going to do hashtag sit down pee. Yeah. This is gonna be a big deal. Thanks for doing this, man. I know it's weird to be a guinea pig, but like I said, I love you and love our conversations, and you really were the inspiration for me to even think about doing this. So, you know, and it as most things go, it'll probably fail and be over with. I'll probably do 4 or 5 of them and then be like, yeah, I'm done. But no, I doubt it. I don't know. I hope not. But today, if I feel like I felt, but like as we said at the beginning, though, I was genuinely not wanting to do this because I was just so tired, and I'm really glad we had the conversation.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm glad we did it, and I'm not looking forward to getting off the phone with you and then trying to play drums again. Because I'm kind of tired of fucking drums for the day, and I'm not a good drummer. But I'm gonna, just like this podcast, I'll go in there not wanting to play the drums, but if I finally play them right, I'll be very happy I did,
Damn straight.
Anything else you want to talk about?
UFOs.
All right, man, we're all out of time. We're all out of time. And that's been the Nitty and the Gritty. Everybody have a lovely day and tune in next time for Rye Evans as we go down the musical water slide and end up at Dirty Mop and the Skanky Sneakers, the a cappella band from 1948 that no one gives a shit about. This has been Tim Tolka. I'll probably have him back on for a second episode at some point, but on his second mention of UFOs, we're going to shut the whole...
Uninterrupted, I hope, by John Morgan.
We're going to... No, I mean, this...
He cut into my time.
He did, and that's why we're going to have you back on. And when we have John on, we'll let you call in, and you can interrupt his time and derail the 3-hour...
Call him lazy-eyed.
Yeah, the 3-hour... You can derail the 3-hour conversation I'm sure John's going to have about how successful he is. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We are the Nitty and the Gritty podcast. You can find us on, or not we, I guess I. Tim isn't part of this shit. But I got the Instagram. I think it's the Nitty and the Gritty. The YouTube is going to be the Nitty and the Gritty. I think there's a Patreon, which we'll get to that eventually. And you can follow me and then hear these trash conversations, I don't know, maybe bi-weekly. I haven't figured out the schedule yet. But Tim,
Sounds good to me.
thank you for coming in. And
My pleasure.
We're gonna end it there. All right. #UFOs. #UFOs.
Just